What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the College Sports Connection podcast, where Double A, Alex, and AJ host the Mid-American Conference Best.
Everybody, welcome back to the College Sports Connection podcast. I'm your host, Alex the Captain. Joining me as always, it's AJ the Guru.
What's going on, everybody?
AJ, welcome back. Man, what an interesting week we've had with the end of the NFL regular season, with the College Football National Championship concluding. Now we're shifting a little bit more into conference play for college basketball. But I think we got a little bit more football we kind of want to cover before we really dive headfirst into college basketball.
Absolutely. We've got a great opportunity here to talk about some MAC players who've made it to the postseason and who are going to have opportunity to chase a Lombardi trophy here.
Yeah, should be a good time. What we did this week, guys, we divided up the NFC and the AFC. I took the NFC and all 7 of the playoff teams. AJ took the AFC and all 7 of their playoff teams. And a little bit of research, a little bit of time, just kind of looking at stuff. I was a little bit shocked by my results. I'm sure you were as well, AJ, with guys that names that, I don't want to say you forgot, but you're like, oh, I didn't realize he was with this program or, whatever. But let's dive into it. Why don't you kick us off and we'll just trade teams back and forth.
Absolutely. I'm starting the AFC here with the Chargers and the Jaguars this week. A phenomenal game. We've got, of course, the great Khalil Mack out of Buffalo. He's been in the league 9 years already.
Wow.
It's hard to believe. On the year, he has 25 tackles, 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. They also have the tackle, the third-year tackle out of Toledo, Storm Norton. But Storm, he played in the XFL. He's been around a couple of different leagues in his time, but this is his 3rd year in the NFL with the Chargers. And also, we had to add selfishly Tom Arth, the former coach of the Akron Zips. He's the pass game coordinator for the Chargers right now, who we got to know a couple of years ago at Media Day. Mm-hmm. And interesting enough, the Jaguars, so there's only 2 players, 1 coach for the Chargers. The Jaguars, 0 Mid-American Conference players.
So the Jaguars are the only team in the AFC and the NFC playoffs that have 0 MAC players.
Yep.
Huh. That's pretty wild. That's a fun little stat, right? I mean, you look at what I think there's something like 58 MAC players on NFL rosters, practice squads, whatever. So the MAC is very well represented. Really interesting to see that we don't have a single player on that Jacksonville team. Who, by the way, was terrible a year ago. Now they're winning the AFC South and they are in the postseason. So hats off to them.
Won the division. They won the division with what, a 9-8 record or something like that?
They won the division with a 9-8 record, and here you're gonna love this. The Buccaneers won the division with an 8-9 record over here in the NFC.
Yeah. It's incredible.
But speaking of the NFC, we're gonna wrap it up with. You said it was the Jaguars versus the Chargers, right?
Yep.
For that first round game, we've got the Cowboys and Tampa Bay. Obviously, the big storyline for this one is Tom Brady's undefeated against the Cowboys. We're not talking Tom Brady. We're talking about these football players from the MAC, and the Cowboys have 1 active player in one Cooper Rush, the quarterback who took over this year and made a splash on the scene. He is actually the backup now for the Cowboys, but if Dak Prescott gets hurt or gets taken out at any point, Cooper Rush is going to step in, and I mean, this is a kid who can sling the rock. I've always been very impressed with him and what he's done at Central Michigan. Obviously, we know his story a little bit better than anything. He's been in the NFL since 2017, and in that time, he has 1,475 yards, 8 passing touchdowns, 4 interceptions. This is a kid who can come out and sling the rock. Even earlier this year, he had 181 yards against the Eagles, which, not bad for, filling in for the guy.
Sure.
And then for the other side, we've got Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has 5 no practice squad, no IR guys, but 5 active players who were pretty key to their run a couple years ago, including the likes of Sean Murphy Bunting from Central Michigan, the cornerback, and Scotty Miller, the wide receiver from Bowling Green. Scotty Miller's in his 3rd year with the Buccaneers. But a couple other guys I didn't realize were with Tampa Bay. Ulysses Gilbert, he's a linebacker from Akron, and I mean I knew he was pretty special over there at Akron, but I didn't realize he was with Tampa Bay. So great pickup for them. Luke Gadecki from Central Michigan, the guard, and then Pat O'Connor, the defensive end from Eastern Michigan. So when you say I think it's fair to say Eastern Michigan is defensive end university in the MAC, right? I think, can we say that?
They have been the past couple of years, absolutely.
Especially with, Crosby coming out of there, and, so they've really stepped it up. But I mean, all of these guys have been massive contributors for this program. And that is it for my first round between the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. Flip it back over to the AFC.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we have the Ravens and Bengals. That's going to be an exciting one. The Ravens only have one Mid-American Conference player, Stephen Means, the 8th-year outside linebacker who has 1 tackle in the year. He is out of Buffalo. We go to the other side of the ball, the Bengals. Max Skipling, the guard, he's a 4th year out of Northern Illinois. And then Tyson Anderson, who's on the IR, who's a safety, is in his rookie year out of Toledo.
Yeah, I really like Tyson Anderson, and obviously being a Toledo guy, I'm a big fan of him. But the Bengals, they've got some studs from the MAC, that guys who can really make some noise. So that's always fun to kind of keep your eye on. Moving into the NFC, we've got New York versus the Vikings. And I know that we mentioned earlier on your side, it's the New York Giants versus the Vikings. I know we mentioned earlier on your side that Jacksonville was the only team who had no MAC players. Well, the Giants and the Vikings only have 1 active player apiece. A couple names you might recognize for the Vikings. We've got Greg Mance, the center out of Toledo. And on the practice squad, his late teammate, Bryant Koback, obviously a rookie, spent his year on the practice squad. Greg Mance, he graduated from Toledo in 2014 or 2015. So this is a guy who's been in the league for quite a few years. He's kind of bounced around. I think he was with the Texans originally. I think that I want to say he went undrafted to the Texans, but he bounced around in a couple practice squads, and now he's on the active roster for the Vikings. Moving to the Giants, we've got Kenny Galladay. If you don't know this name, you don't know MAC football. The wide receiver out of Northern Illinois. This guy has been hit or miss, a little bit plagued with the injury bug the last couple of years, but when he's on, and he is on their active roster right now. And then practice squad member, wide receiver, rookie out of Central Michigan, Khalil Pimpleton. This is a name you and I talked about a lot last year.
Yeah, good to see him live last year, yeah.
So good, some great names there, obviously, for both those teams. Giants and the Vikings both get a MAC product playing for them on the active roster while keeping some pretty healthy guys on their practice squad.
Yeah, without a doubt. I go back to the AFC here, the Dolphins and Bills. This one I thought was going to be an interesting one, but obviously Tua is not playing. So this definitely does slide into the favor of the Bills. But as for players in this game, the Dolphins, the former on the IR right now, the former 1st overall pick, Eric Fisher, he's been in the league 10 years already. I remember when he was drafted to Kansas City. 10 years.
10 years already.
He's been in the league 10 years. Yeah, and he's on the IR currently. And you have Kadar Holman on the practice squad, 3rd-year cornerback out of Toledo there for Miami. We go down to the next team, the opposing team here, the Bills. Reggie Gilliam, 3rd-year fullback out of Toledo, one of your guys. You have his autograph on the season. He has 8 receptions, no rushing yards, but 8 receptions, 69 yards with 1 touchdown. You have Cam Lewis, the 3rd-year cornerback out of Buffalo, 15 solo tackles on the season. Quentin Morris, the 1st-year tight end out of Bowling Green, 8 receptions, 84 yards, 1 touchdown. We go down to the practice squad here for the Bills. Tommy Doyle, 2nd-year tackle out of Miami of Ohio. Jamarcus Ingram, practice squad cornerback rookie out of Buffalo as well. So on the AFC, Buffalo does lead in Mid-American Conference players with 5.
Got 5 over there on those rosters. And I mean, got some good guys too. That's like you said, Reggie Gilliam, soft spot in my heart. Big shout out to him for doing me a solid with the autograph on the game used. His last bowl game jersey, which I thought was pretty special to be able to get that from the university and send that off to him. So, like you said, some really great guys over on that side. Moving back to the NFC, we've got an interesting interdivision battle. The 49ers versus the Seahawks. The Seahawks obviously have two guys who are on their active roster. Nick Ballore, this is his 12th year in the NFL. He is old, especially for a linebacker. He's out of Central Michigan. And then you've got Xavier Crawford. And Xavier Crawford is in his third year in the NFL. And this is a kid, he's a cornerback. I've always liked him. He only this year, not really much in terms of stats. Really hasn't had a lot of stats over the course of his career. He's got 2 solo tackles on the season. But this is a kid who he tore it up at Central Michigan. I know he played for Jacksonville for a little bit, and that was a whole thing. But Xavier Crawford chilling out over there in Seattle. On the practice squad, they do have D. Eskridge in his second year in the NFL, the wide receiver out of Western Michigan. Cody Thompson.
D. Eskridge, he's just south of Fort Wayne.
Yep.
He was from Decatur, I believe, or Bluffton, one of the two.
Yeah, it sounds right. And then Cody Thompson, the former wide receiver out of Toledo who made his name with the punt block kick recovered for 0 yards against VMI a couple years ago.
Yeah. They punted it right into his gut, didn't they?
Yeah, literally. I think. Well, it looks like it looked like he was kicking it right into his gut, and he just took it off the punter's foot.
Gotcha.
And then just it was a whole thing. But he's in his third year as well, or he is in his third year, and he is on the IR with D. Eskridge. To the 49ers, couple names people might know. We'll see if they pick up on it. Jimmy Ward, the defensive back from Northern Illinois, and I kind of chuckled when I saw this. I was like, I had no idea that he was still with them, and he's in year 9.
He is. I saw him play in 2013 against Ball State when I went to NIU for that game. That was a lot of fun. He was a hell of a player.
This year, he's got 38 solo tackles, 1 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions, and 5 pass deflections.
He was a first rounder, wasn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah.
He was a day 1 guy, I believe.
Yeah.
And then Samuel Womack, the rookie out of Toledo, the cornerback, anchoring that defense with Jimmy Ward, 13 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, 2 pass deflections. On the offensive side, we get Jalen Moore on the offensive line. And this is a kid out of Western Michigan. And again, this is, there's so many guys take their opportunity to get to the next level with the NFL or whatever. He's in his second year, and he's officially listed as a guard.
Right.
And I mean, he's a big dude, 6'4", 311. They don't grow him too big offensive line wise in the Mid-American Conference, but Jalen Moore, he's one of the few who's done it right up there. And then we moved, of course, to the practice squad, a name near and dear to your heart, Mr. Willie Snead, the wide receiver out of Ball State.
My guy, I went to school with him. Great guy, a lot of fun. He's bounced around a little bit. They had high hopes for him in Baltimore, and it just didn't work out. Coming from New Orleans, he had a great campaign in New Orleans, coming out as an undrafted free agent. Went to Baltimore, signed a nice little contract, didn't work out there. And I think it was Carolina after that. And then I believe he spent some time at home this year and then got the call from San Francisco. So it was great to see Willie out there. Even though he's on the practice squad, he's playing on a team right now that's firing on all cylinders. And, it takes one person to go down and he's getting that call.
Absolutely. And I mean, and that's fun for him, right? He's getting to live out his dream. And I know he was always considered undersized as a wide receiver.
Very.
But I mean, it's good for him to get to live out that dream. And hey, you're on the practice squad, you're making money. Sure. I don't care. Everybody says, you're just practice squad. You're still making league minimum.
Sure.
I'd take league minimum to get tossed around at practice, every week, whatever. All right, moving back over to you. We have our first round bye winner. I think it's Kansas City, isn't it?
It is Kansas City. And these three Mid-American Conference players all come from the state of Michigan. So we obviously know a lot about Sky Moore, the rookie out of Western on the year. He has 22 receptions, 250 yards, 0 touchdowns. He's a guy that we spoke high, or Coach Lester, when we spoke with him last year, was extremely excited about watching him being able to grow. He's in a position where in Kansas City, they are loaded at the wide receiver position. Just about, I think pretty much the center could probably catch a ball there too. So, here the next year or two when contracts come up for other players and whatnot, he's going to be around to step into somebody's shoes and take over. Also out of Eastern Michigan, Andrew Wiley, the 5th-year guard. And then on the practice squad, the rookie out of Western is Mike Caliendo, as I mentioned, out of Western there too. So I'm on the AFC side. 4 players from both Buffalo and Toledo, 2 from Western, and 1 from Northern, Central, Eastern, Miami, and BG. So overall, for I say 15 that was on my side, not a bad representation for the Mid-American Conference.
Yeah, I mean that's averaging just over two a team.
Yep.
On that side, and really, if you discount the fact that Jacksonville has none of them, so what? Almost 3 a team. So
3 team, yeah.
Good representation there from the guys from the Mid-American Conference in the AFC. Back over to the number 1 seeded Philadelphia Eagles. They have 2 guys on their roster, 1 on the active squad and 1 on the IR. In his 15th year in the NFL, the punter out of Toledo, Brett Kern. Wow.
Yeah.
I know Tennessee cut him here in the offseason, wanting to go a different direction. Philadelphia felt that they got something out of him, and boy, when I tell you, I was excited for him. I wasn't excited about him going to Philadelphia, but I was excited for him. Because, I mean, this is a guy who's just, he's a legend in Tennessee, just for everything he's done over there. But this is a guy he's done everything the right way. So moving through him, and his stats. He's got, waiting for it to load right here, but this year he's got just 10 punts, averaging 41 yards a punt. Like, they haven't needed him much.
No.
But when they do, he answers the call, I'd take that field possession of 41 yard difference,
Sure.
You got a guy, you're down on your own 30, flip it 40 yards. Hey, whatever. 15 years though, that blows my mind. But then they've got, last but certainly not least, Mr. Tyree Jackson, the tight end out of Buffalo. And boy, I forgot Tyree Jackson was doing anything with the NFL. That's good for him.
Yeah, without a doubt. You get some guys who, unfortunately, some of these guys do get buried in get a lot shuffled around, buried in the business, if you will. But once you see them, like, oh, I forgot about him, and then you go back and think about watching him play. Like, oh, this kid was a stud, and so it's really cool to see these guys make an impact. And essentially, there's going to be a Mid-American Conference player this year hosting the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the year.
Well, I was just going to say, looking at Tyree, so this is his 2nd year in the league. And modest numbers. He's played in 9 games, 3 catches for 22 yards. And that wasn't even this year. That was last year. So it looks like he's been dealing with a lot of IR stuff.
Sure.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, looking at his numbers, he's massive. He's 6'7".
Sure.
He's a big boy. 6'7", 249, 25 years old, getting to play in the NFL. Like, that's just so cool.
Kind of look at the guys on the AFC here. I always go back to Khalil Mack because I believe he is the standard for the Mid-American Conference players in the National Football League right now, having going into year 9. I mean, it's not that long ago he was terrorizing Braxton Miller at Ohio State. I remember watching that game vividly. He was the defense. Having 25 tackles on the year, 8 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. On a Chargers team that, Jacksonville's no slouch right now. They made the change from going, from first overall pick to winning the division all within 24 months, maybe a little less. So, Khalil Mack obviously has a fantastic opportunity, and being traded this year from Chicago to, was that this year or last year? believe it was this year.
It was this
traded,
past off season.
yeah, traded to LA. I think it's gonna be a phenomenal opportunity for him. And if I'm looking down this list of 15 players and one coach, I think the Chargers are very capable of doing it. But then also you look at Buffalo and with Gilliam, Lewis, Morris, and Doyle and Ingram on the practice squad, they've got a legit threat to do it as well. So it's gonna be a lot of fun seeing how these guys ends up and seeing what kind of impact these active roster guys have. Because obviously Reggie's going to have an impact, maybe not so much in the passing or rushing game, but in the blocking game. Cam Lewis having 15 solo tackles this year. I've imagined he's on defense, but also special teams, so he's gonna make an impact there. Then you have Quentin Morris, limited or small numbers this year, but as a blocking tight end, that's going to be huge for the Bills because they like to throw the ball and they're really good at it. They like to run it just as much as well. So only time will tell. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So we got a lot of exciting football here starting Saturday, I believe, right?
I believe it starts Saturday. Yeah. And you think you mentioned 15 guys from or from MAC teams on squads over in the AFC?
15 players and one former coach.
And we've got 19 players on the NFC side. Central Michigan leads the way in total players on active rosters.
Yep.
But they are tied with Toledo in the NFC at 5 apiece. Toledo has 2 guys on either IR or practice squad. Akron has 1 guy. So just by school, just total. Akron has 1 guy. Ball State has 1 guy. Bowling Green has 1 guy. Buffalo 1. Central Michigan owns it by with 5, like I said. Eastern Michigan 1. Miami, Ohio has 0. Northern Illinois has 2. Ohio has 0. Toledo has 4 or 5, and then Western Michigan has 2. So there's a lot of great representation. So wait, did you say Ohio? Is Ohio the only school that has no representation?
Ohio, Kent State doesn't, do they?
No, I didn't see any Kent State guys.
No, it's Ohio, Kent State, Eastern, Western, Central do, but Ball State does, NIU does, Akron does. So yeah, just Kent State and OU.
Not bad for the MAC. I mean, a conference that people like to, talk about in whatever way. For the record, Kent State played Georgia better than TCU did. Kent
Absolutely.
State national runner-up. I'm calling it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So no, we've got between the 2 divisions, we have 34 guys. That's impressive.
It's great.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
So 34 guys on 14 NFL rosters for the 2022 NFL playoffs. I'm excited. That's going to be a fun playoff, and definitely cheering for all the MAC guys and hoping to see one of them lovingly hoist the Lombardi Trophy.
Without a doubt. And I think the odds are pretty good.
Odds are pretty good. Watch Jacksonville wins the whole thing.
No kidding. That would make Urban Meyer feel so bad, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would devastate Urban Meyer.
Like how bad were things there? Like you heard the reports, but you're like, how bad was it truly?
I tell you what, man, you heard it, right? He talked about it's like scheduling Alabama every week.
Yeah.
And well, sounds like there's some truth there. But some of the greatest college coaches of all time aren't NFL coaches.
No.
Nick Saban didn't cut it in the NFL.
No.
I mean,
Cliff Kingsbury didn't.
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury didn't.
He would just let go. And Pete Carroll's really the one notable one who really has.
Pete Carroll's done well. Jim Harbaugh had a pretty good run in San Francisco,
which he might be back now. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But that's my point. Is like so many guys who are great college coaches, it doesn't always translate to the NFL, and that's okay.
Yeah,
because you see what they do at the college ranks, and you're like, all right, they kind of have it figured out. Matt Rule. Yep. I was really hoping Chicago was going to somehow get to the playoffs. Matt Eberflus, the coach, is a former MAC guy. So
that guy, yeah.
So that that would have been another great connection. But no, this is fun. I had a lot of fun looking up these guys, looking up these names. It was taking a trip down memory lane, just looking at some of these guys, and you're like, oh man, I remember what they did against this team in the MAC or
Sure.
against this team. And you talk about Khalil Mack, and I think he had like a 45-yard touchdown return on Ohio State. And
Something
it's
like
just,
that, yeah.
and just everybody watching was stunned silence.
Then
And it's
you
just,
remember. Then I say, "Oh, it's been 9 years ago." And it's
yeah,
like it couldn't have been that. I remember where I was watching that game,
yeah,
so I
it's
was like,
insane.
"Yeah, it's flying by."
So,
So,
but that was
but that
fun.
was
That
cool.
was,
That was a lot
yeah.
of fun. On my side, I have a lot of offensive linemen on my
Mhm.
side of the thing. I've got some receivers and some offensive linemen, and a cornerback and tight end. So
I've
it
got
was
a lot
kind of
of
nice.
defensive guys on my side.
Yeah, mine were mostly offense.
Yeah, I'm
So
looking at it now. I've got
I didn't even
cornerbacks,
make yeah.
linebackers, defensive ends, the linebacker, cornerback, punter. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of defensive guys on my side. That was pretty
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
I look at Buffalo. I've got a fullback, I got a corner, I got a tight end, I got an offensive lineman, I've got a cornerback, a wide receiver, guard, outside
Hmm.
linebacker, guard, safety,
Yeah.
uh, tackle. So yeah, I only have one offensive tackle. So but this was fun. This was really cool to take a look at. I'm glad we did it this week, and we're gonna have a really cool graphic too up. And when you guys are listening to this too, give us your opinion on which Mid American Conference player has the best opportunity to end up in the Super Bowl and to eventually host the Lombardi, because I think we have a lot of great options here.
I think looking at it just off of the top of my head, I'm kind of pulling for a Buccaneers, and you said it was Buffalo had the most on your side.
Buffalo, yeah,
I'm pulling for a Buccaneers Buffalo because that would put 10 MAC guys in the Super Bowl.
sure, that would be an interesting one too.
That'd be a really interesting one.
But
But so cool. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We got a couple things in the pipeline that we're kind of working on and looking forward to bringing you guys some more coverage. AJ, you're talking about you've got some hockey games coming up, some exciting
yeah,
stuff
here in a
there.
few weeks, I've got Western Michigan at Colorado College here in Colorado Springs. So that's a Friday, Saturday night. I'm probably going to attend both of them.
There you go.
With Colorado College only being 10 minutes away from me, that'd be a lot of fun to check out.
Sure.
Something different. We haven't brought any hockey content here. Hockey is kind of hard to get to because the Mid American Conference doesn't have a hockey conference.
Yeah, we don't host hockey as itself, but they are MAC schools.
They are MAC schools, yeah. So that'd be exciting. And then Miami of Ohio is in Denver. I believe it's next weekend. I don't think I'll be able to make that one.
Okay.
The scheduling conflicts. And it's interesting too. Hockey puck drops here are late, like 8-9 o'clock.
So it's 11 o'clock our time.
Yeah, that's tough to do. But nevertheless, we're going to be doing some hockey content. I'm going to get in touch with Western Michigan here the next couple of days, see what I can do with them. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Colorado College is a small school out here, really in the heart of Colorado Springs.
Good hockey programs over there.
Very hot. Oh, yeah, great hockey programs up this way. With the University of Denver up in Denver, obviously, then the program down here. Looking at the rosters, there's a lot of kids from, Michigan, Minnesota. Even though all the schools play hockey, there's so many hockey kids who need a place to play, and they come down here, and it's not a bad place to play at all. Denver or Colorado Springs, both phenomenal cities. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I've done some research on Colorado College. Their hockey program is fantastic. If you listened to our episode a couple of months ago with Coach Tomich from BG, the Colorado College athletic director was the one who hired her at BG. So that'll be a fun connection. Hopefully I can make that as well. But yeah, we got some hockey, something different. And then after hockey, we'll get deep into basketball.
Yeah, so you've got hockey. I'm looking to try to attend a couple basketball games here in the coming weeks just to, obviously I'd love to go up to the Game Above Center up at Eastern Michigan. Check that out. That's a good facility up there. I think we saw that when we went up there for the Eastern game.
We did, yeah.
Snagged some photos. I mean, they've done an excellent job in there. Obviously, Toledo, here in Toledo. And then, of course, Bowling Green down there at the Stroh Center. I mean, all great. All three of those are great facilities. So excited to bring you some basketball content. And then once basketball's over, we've got spring sports, baseball, softball, lacrosse. I mean, there's a plethora of them there. We're excited to rebuild that relationship with Sarah Tisdale, who's now at Eastern.
Absolutely. I'm going to be doing a lot of research here the next couple of weeks to see what programs make their way out west. We have a couple. Obviously, I did the Western Michigan Colorado State women's basketball game a couple of weeks ago, which was a lot of fun. So I'd imagine there's going to be some more teams making their way out here. maybe when it gets a little warmer out, we'll say it's cold and windy. We're supposed to get more snow for the next 2 to 3 months. So who knows what happens.
Sure. No, it'll be good. I'm excited. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is a good week of prepping for Maction as we continue our 2023 schedule, and finishing up our football stuff, and looking forward to bringing you more content here in the future. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to see you next week.
See you.